our next guest and his television partner are some of the nicest human beings in the world. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We're joined by Ryan McGee here on TexAgs Radio. Ryan, what's up, man? How you been?
I'm good. I appreciate you saying that about me, but I'm not going to tell Marty you said he was really nice. I'm going to keep that to myself.
You guys are great, man, and we share in a love of you're bigger. I'm into superheroes and Star Wars. I know you're big into Star Wars. So at some point, we're going to have to talk about, I have not watched Ahsoka yet, but I am all in on Mando.
It's so good. Ahsoka's so good, and it's worth watching. I mean, I believe it's episode 4. It's worth watching just for the middle episode because it's something else. And I just finished Echo, the new Marvel show on Disney Plus, and it's good. It's Echo. You don't watch that with your kids. That one gets a little rough, but it's good. So yeah, no, it's funny. My daughter's 19, and she's a freshman at another SEC school, and but she and I talk all the time. I tell her all the time, I hope you appreciate the fact that I always loved Star Wars. And I always loved Marvel, but we had no Marvel movies, and we had one Star Wars movie every 3 years, maybe. And now it's just constant content. So good for her generation, because and good for me too, and you.
That's right, man. I don't care. I'm 47 years old, and I'm still all in. I don't care.
No, I'm sitting in my office in Charlotte, and there are 4 lightsabers hanging on the wall. Like I'm the easiest Christmas present of all time. I got like a Darth Vader Pez dispenser for Christmas and a Darth Vader coffee maker. So yeah, I'm the easiest Father's Day / birthday / Christmas present ever because I'm basically 12.
Hey, one last entertainment thing before we get to football. Nate Bargatze, I saw you went to the concert. How was it? Because I love that dude.
It was amazing. You know what's crazy is so I saw Tom Papa on Friday night with my wife, and then I saw Nate Bargatze on Sunday, and I saw Tom Papa in like this cozy theater with about 1,000 people. Bargatze sold out the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, 2 shows, 22,000 people for a comedy show. So that was the first for me. But he's so good, man. And you talk about meeting guys that you hope they are as nice as you think they're going to be. Nate was knocking around SEC Media Days in Nashville last summer, and I was kind of starstruck. And he's exactly who you think he's going to be. Like he's just a dude. And when he's up there talking about, not knowing how to pay property taxes and being addicted to using Afrin, I'm like, I'm 50 years old, dude. I feel all that. I appreciate that.
Hey, when we texted, one of the things I appreciated was you started your sentence with yo, because I love to start off things with yo. And then you continue to talk about, there's not a lot to talk about at A&M, but actually there is with Bjork heading to Ohio State and Coach Elko. So just I'll let you start from there. Just what do you think about the job Coach Elko's done so far?
Well, I mean, listen, the challenge of the job is the fact that the job never ends. I mean, I think it's why Nick Saban just retired. I think it's why we're not going to see guys coaching into their late 60s and 70s once Mac Brown retires. I think that's done. Like, I just think the job is too hard. And it's not too hard for Mike Elko. He's such a detailed guy. Clearly, he understands the transfer portal. Even at a place like Duke, he was able to bring guys in with ridiculous academic restrictions, and was able to keep guys from leaving. And so, and clearly he's done a great job with that so far. So he's a detail-oriented guy, but also just a good guy. I mean, I live here in North Carolina, and I actually grew up on Tobacco Road up in Raleigh, and there's a lot of really sad people in the state where I'm standing right now because Mike Elko is no longer up the road, but he just gets it. I think that the most curious part of the Jimbo Fisher experience was that Jimbo seemed to be all in on being a Texan, but not necessarily all in on like doing the things you have to do to be a college football coach in the state of Texas. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, talking to the high school guys. That's it. I mean, it's such a huge part of the job, and Mike Elko is a master at that. So I think the potential is through the roof. And then to get into the other part of it, I think that, I like Ross. Obviously I've dealt with Ross at Ole Miss, and he dealt with some really difficult situations. The last time I saw him was on the campus at A&M when we were in town doing Marty McGee and sweating through my suit back, I think it was like week 3. But it also felt like this was probably a good move for everyone at this point. And so, few headlines coming out of College Station.
Yeah, no doubt about that. In the last segment, one of our associates here asked me how I would fix this whole NIL world, and the thing that I said was I wanted to see college football break free and still limit the transfers, even though that looks like that's not going to happen. Somebody responded that would kill the other sports. So, I mean, do you have an idea that you think could potentially work? Because nothing's working, but it's working.
No, and the problem is there's no. Yeah, I say this all the time. I always quote Jason Priestley from Tombstone. There's got to be some sort of law, right? And there's no rules, and so now we're going to. I had a preacher back in North Carolina when I was growing up that used to always say, "You can't unscramble that egg, and you can't put the water back in the faucet." And it's kind of where we are with NIL. So you can't reel it all back in. Everybody needs to give up on that, but you have to figure out a way to kind of put bumpers on it. And what's going to happen is that when the Nick Sabans of the world are retiring, or when coaches start leaving college football to go coach in the NFL because it's easier, which I know words I never thought I would say, but that's going to start happening soon, like very soon. That's when you realize you got to fix something. And I'm not sure what the plan was here. And Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is on this, I call it the Future of Sports Committee, this kind of master NCAA committee they put together a couple of years ago to help navigate these things. And they just kind of threw their hands up on NIL and on transfer, like, all right, whatever, y'all just do what you want to do. Because, everybody was fighting over it, and there wasn't a plan. And now we're waiting on government, like local and federal governments, to figure this out. It's never going to happen. So they need to reel it in now, because I just worry about burnout. And I worry about, I'm telling you right now, the reason Nick Saban retired is because he don't want to deal with this stuff. And he did, and did it very well. But you can't keep that up. You can't sustain that over an extended period of time. And so when we start running the biggest name coaches out of the sport, whether they retire or whether they go to the NFL, now you got a real problem.
How much grace do you think Alabama fans are going to give Kalen DeBoer this first year, considering all the people leaving? And he'll get some guys back, no doubt about it. But what kind of grace following Nick Saban will he get?
None. The fan base is going to cut him zero slack. And I know this because I understand it's a different time and it's a different era and all those things. But all I know is that Bill Curry, one of my favorite people I ever worked with at ESPN, Bill Curry, won the SEC, went to the Sugar Bowl, beat Auburn and Tennessee, and got a brick thrown through his window and got fired. So it is what it is. And when I would talk to other coaches about taking this job, and if Alabama calls, you take the job. As simple as that. You just do it. But what a lot of coaches said to me, multiple coaches said to me, was you never want to be the guy that follows the guy. And then another guy said to me, but it's okay to be the guy who follows the guy who follows the guy. So I like Kalen DeBoer a lot. I don't know him that well. I purposely, at the national championship game, spent time kind of hanging out by his booth at Media Day because I wanted to get a feel for him. I'm crazy about him. I grew up on small college campuses, and the fact that this guy was coaching the NAIA 14 years ago, and his defensive coordinator was the head coach at Montana Tech 5 years ago, and now these guys are in Tuscaloosa. I'm rooting for him. I hope that it works, because I think it would be great just for small college coaches to be able to look at those guys and go, all right, I can do this if I want, but they're not going to cut any slack. I mean, no different than you tell me. I don't believe. I was reading some stuff earlier this week about A&M, and everybody's like, well, the heat's not on him like it was on Jimbo because of the expectation level. I've been to College Station. I'm pretty sure that their expectation level is still pretty high. I don't think they're going to cut Mike Elko slack if suddenly he has a bad transitional year. He's not going to get fired if he has a bad year, but I think that somebody's going to get the kerosene out and pour it on his feet.
Yeah, no, I think the patience depends on how many wins, right? I think you just better be better than 8-4, right? And that's to open the door. And then from that point, you got to be a double-digit win team pretty much every year.
Yeah, and then there's a danger if you have too much success too early. It's funny because I'm I'm a Tennessee alum, and I kind of went through this with my Tennessee people, which was, the good news is that the coaching staff was ahead of schedule a year ago when they beat Alabama and had a Heisman Trophy candidate until he got hurt and had a chance to make the playoff late in the season until they had that loss in South Carolina. And the problem is everybody expects that again this year. But anyone who really knows football knows there was a lot of construction work that was still to do. Brian Kelly's always told me about that, at Notre Dame. He got Notre Dame in the BCS championship game, like year 2 or 3. And that team overachieved, and he knew it and knew he still had work to do. And so the expectation level was through the roof. So, yeah, if the college football tooth fairy came tonight and told Texas A&M fans, here's 9 wins and a New Year's Day bowl game and maybe second place, third place in the division, if we still had divisions, then I think you would say, thank you very much. I'll take that in 2024 and then expect more in 2025.
100%. Hey, let me close out with this. Tell us a little bit about Welcome to the Circus of Baseball, the book you put together.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning it. Yeah, that book was a labor of love for me, and it's been so much fun in 2023 kind of putting it out there and promoting it. But I worked in minor league baseball for one summer. I have been obsessed with minor league baseball my entire life. If you watch Marty McGee on Saturday mornings, and I wear a different minor league baseball cap on the show and have for 3 years and haven't repeated one yet, much to my wife's chagrin because they've taken over my house. But I love it. I love minor league baseball so much. Again, growing up in North Carolina, it's kind of like Texas. There was a time when I was a kid in the 80s, it felt like every town in North Carolina had a minor league baseball team. And so I spent the summer working for the Asheville Tourists, McCormick Field. If you've seen Bull Durham, it's the old ballpark where Crash Davis hits his last home run at the end of the game. And I did everything from wear the mascot uniform to I almost got killed trying to build the Dairy Queen machine, the tarp. At one point, I flew 10 feet up in the air. And I put all these stories into a book, and it's really just a love letter, to minor league baseball. And man, y'all got some great ballparks and teams around the state of Texas. I literally plan my travel, particularly in the summertime, around the minor league baseball schedule, and I collect minor league ballparks. And so hopefully I've done right by the people who spent their entire life working for our entertainment at these ballparks with Welcome to the Circus of Baseball.
Ryan, man, I appreciate your time so much. Thank you very much, and let's do it again, all right?
Hey, call me anytime. I appreciate it, man.
Take care, buddy.